Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Corn Belt. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, as we track thunderstorm chances over the next 48 hours or so, we continue to watch several dry spots, several areas that have really been missed with most of our recent rain opportunities. We've got a big one here across west central Iowa, a rather large dry area here in parts of the eastern Corn Belt. Scattered dryness to be found throughout here, though. There are dry spots that are kind of missed as we look at these broad views. So you look at the last 3 days, we do see several corridors of heavy precipitation. Now, I'll go ahead and let you know that our server that runs a lot of our internal maps crashed at 3 o'clock in the morning, so had to grab some data here from elsewhere, and so some of these maps aren't what we're used to looking at. But if I kind of zoom in on the precipitation map over the last 72 hours, we continue to see short distances here between the haves and the have-nots. We've seen corridors of heavy precipitation, 2 to 5 inches at times across. Let's look at this one here across southeastern Illinois, where you can kind of focus on Champaign County here, where maybe the southeast corner of Champaign County picked up 4 or 5 inches of rain, and then you head off toward eastern and northeastern portions of Champaign County, and it's down to a trace, maybe a few tenths of an inch. You see the same thing when you head out toward the Central Plains here. You can draw this line from northeastern Oklahoma or northeastern Nebraska down toward the Kansas City area, where you travel just a short distance from maybe this area here, 3 to 5 inches of rain, and then you head up toward west central Iowa, a dry spot, an area that needs some rain, and again we fall off to a few tenths of an inch. So again, these thunderstorm clusters, they are very beneficial. They bring the rainfall that we need during the summer, but they can also be problematic by dumping too much rain in one area, and they can also be rather frustrating if you're, the unlucky one sitting there watching heavy thunderstorms just a county or two away, maybe not moving much. You almost wish that you could just run over there and fill up the buckets and bring it back here. At any rate, this is going to be the theme over the next 48 hours. We do have continued chances for thunderstorms along a stalled out frontal boundary. We've got the Gulf of Mexico open, so warm and humid air being pumped into the central U.S. Temperatures only bottoming out in the low 70s. Very warm and muggy air mass situated over the Corn Belt. That's helped ignite thunderstorms overnight from parts of the Oklahoma Panhandle into the Central Plains across Kansas and Missouri, pushing into west central Illinois early this morning. We've even got a few thunderstorms here across parts of central Minnesota. Those will move into Wisconsin as we head later into the day. We'll flip it over and look at the radar, and we've got a couple of MCV, mesoscale convective vortices. These are a little kind of warm core area of low pressure that are generated by thunderstorm activity. We talk about this a lot during the summer month. There's a couple obvious ones here, one across portions of Minnesota, the other one in the Central Plains, both tracking to the east slowly, and both will be the focal point for additional thunderstorm development as we head through the remainder of the afternoon and evening. As we look at the severe weather forecast over the next 3 days, we've got today, Wednesday, and then Thursday here. Again, a marginal risk stretching from parts of the eastern Corn Belt into Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska. A slight risk in the high plains here, looking for some hailstorms to develop during the afternoon across parts of Colorado into Wyoming and far southwestern Nebraska. As we head into Wednesday and Thursday, we keep a threat of thunderstorms across the region. I keep a marginal risk here across parts of the central and northern plains, but our upper level support, the strong jet stream winds, are going to slowly start lifting back north as we build a ridge of high pressure into the central U.S. heading into the weekend. So the threat for organized thunderstorms slowly fades each and every day here as we head into the weekend. Now, as we look at the hazards map here, we're finally quieting down across the central U.S., where we've just been living in heat advisories across this region. Of course, I've just teased the transition back to a central U.S. ridge this weekend, so we will be kind of returning to that look there with a lot of heat advisories popping up across the central U.S., spreading into, at times, the Great Lakes and the eastern Corn Belt. And the next 7 days can really be spelled out here with the look at the jet stream 500 millibar pattern. Again, we've got kind of 3 stages that we're going to travel through. And the first one is the one we're in right now, the one that's, keeping northwest flow in place across the Corn Belt, keeping opportunities for rain and thunderstorms across the region, and keeping the heat a bit suppressed. As we head into the weekend, though, this trough that's situated across the Great Lakes, across the northern plains, begins to dissipate. We see a ridge once again returning to the central U.S., so high pressure. That's going to allow heat once again to return to a big chunk of the Corn Belt as we head into the weekend. It's also going to take organized thunderstorm chances and send them well off to the north across the Canadian Prairie and at times the far northern plains. But then if I take the drawings off, we watch this trough right now that's developing across western Canada. And we're going to watch this one again right up and over the top of the ridge, down into the Great Lakes, the eastern Corn Belt, and that is going to help pivot the ridge back toward the west and set up northwest flow across the Corn Belt, once again returning us to a pattern that will kind of kick the heat back to the west. We'll still be dealing with at least some heat, but it brings thunderstorm chances back into the region, helping to kind of mitigate things. So let's dive into the specifics now. Let's talk about the thunderstorm threat over the next 48 hours. We'll do that with the high-resolution NAM model. Again, we have our 2 MCV across the Great Lakes here and then across the Central Plains. Each of these will be a focal point for additional thunderstorm development, including the potential for some severe storms as we head through the afternoon and evening hours off to the east. So let's take it there. Let's get to mid-afternoon. This will be about 3 p.m. Now we're seeing a cluster of thunderstorms developing across portions of central Illinois. This could produce some gusty winds, maybe large hail at times, and then maybe a brief tornado or two. We'll also be watching this boundary up across portions of western Wisconsin and eastern Minnesota for that one to ignite with a few thunderstorms as we head through the afternoon and evening hours. So these are the 2 regions I'm most looking at for more widespread thunderstorm activity. It's going to be across eastern Minnesota into western Wisconsin, and then across portions of central Illinois this afternoon and evening, pushing into central portions of Indiana down into southern Illinois during the overnight. And again, maybe a threat for some wind damage across primarily this region here that I'm concerned about, from kind of the Mississippi River off across portions of central Illinois, then pushing into western Indiana overnight. I'm not so sure that we won't end up with kind of a Boeing complex of thunderstorms there, one that may propagate forward with some damaging wind potential. So let's take the drawings off there. Let's head a little bit deeper into the forecast period, into the overnight. Again, we'll be watching for scattered storms producing some hail across this region late evening into the early overnight. Heading into the day on Wednesday, we'll again keep the frontal boundary kind of stalled across this region from the eastern Corn Belt into the high plains. But again, the jet stream flow, the upper level support, drifts northward. And so while we will continue to run the threat for thunderstorms along this frontal boundary, it's going to be much more isolated and much more disorganized without the real organized focus across the region. Same story as we head into Thursday. We'll keep that thunderstorm threat in place here across the high plains into the mid-Mississippi Valley. But where exactly those thunderstorms are going to flare up is not quite apparent here 60 hours out, and it's going to be much more isolated in nature than we're going to be seeing during the day today. Again, the reason for that, well, here are the 2 upper-level waves as we talk about this afternoon and evening. Again, I'm focused on central Illinois for the development of scattered strong storms, and then again across eastern Minnesota into western and northern Wisconsin. And again, here are the 2 waves, a very strong jet stream winds. You see the kind of the U shape there, that little trough feature in the upper level flow. As we head into Thursday afternoon, keeping the boundary in place, look at this very volatile environment, the very sharp gradient here. That's our surface boundary. But then you look at the winds at 500 millibars, again, much weaker. We just kind of get a glancing blow from some of this weak flow off to the north. And then as we look at Thursday, even more of a contrast here. Again, very sharp gradient. There's our frontal boundary. But then if you look at that same region, no upper level support. So that's why, again, we have the boundary to initiate thunderstorms on, but there's no upper level wave that says this is where the thunderstorms will be most focused. There's no upper level wave that says this is where the storms will be going. It's just going to be that pop-up summertime thunderstorm activity that if it pops up on top of your head, you're blessed with a downpour. If it pops up over your neighbor's field, you're going to be left frustrated. So as we look at the total precipitation between now and Thursday, again, the corridor is clear. This isn't exactly how it's going to happen. This model is, of course, very high resolution, and it's not going to nail the thunderstorm activity with 100% certainty. So we can focus in on our corridor here from portions of the Central Plains, Nebraska and Kansas, eastward across southern Iowa, northern Missouri into central and southern Illinois, and then central and southern Indiana tomorrow. And then we've also got our northern cluster here across portions of Minnesota, Wisconsin, maybe the UP of Michigan. These are the 2 favored areas for more widespread thunderstorm activity over the next 48 hours. And again, the threat for a couple of strong storms, I think, is going to be highest across central Illinois, and then again off to the north across eastern Minnesota into western and northern Wisconsin. As we flip it over and look at the European model, we'll smooth things out with the lower resolution. I'm keeping it through Thursday. You see the same theme, the same area outlined here, the best chance for more widespread significant precipitation. 2 areas off to the north, Minnesota and northern Wisconsin, and then here from parts of Nebraska and Kansas, the Kansas City area, through portions of northern Missouri, central Illinois, and then down into central and southern Indiana. If I take the same forecast and bring it all the way out to Sunday, you don't see much difference as you especially look at this corridor here, and that's because really the best chance for precipitation again, begins to fade over the next 48 hours or so. It's today, and then isolated chances Wednesday and Thursday. We'll keep thunderstorms in the forecast off to the north. And then as I add in the week 2 forecast now, so taking it all the way to the end of July, we do once again pivot that ridge back to the west, reintroducing the chance for northwest flow and thunderstorms across this corridor from the Dakotas, across Missouri and Iowa, down into the eastern Corn Belt, parts of Illinois and Indiana. So the next 48 hours, we keep thunderstorm chances in this corridor and off to the north. As we head into the weekend, we're going to be shutting things down across this region, keeping thunderstorms in place at times across the north, across the Great Lakes and the far northern plains. But then as we head into week 2, into next week, we'll once again reintroduce thunderstorm chances back to the region. So not really pivoting back to a hot and dry pattern, one that's going to keep us dry for any sort of long duration. But some of these dry spots, we do want to see if maybe we can get a drink here before this next 48 hours ends, and then maybe get some additional rain as we head into next week. So let's finish with a look at the European model's precipitation forecast. We can go quickly through the next couple of days since we've covered that really well in depth. Again, keeping the thunderstorm chances across this region and generally this region over the next 48 hours. The threat for some severe storms as we head through the afternoon and evening hours in these areas today. We'll take this into Wednesday. Again, our frontal boundary remains kind of back through this area, so we'll see thunderstorms flaring up Wednesday and Thursday afternoon along that surface boundary. Where exactly, it'll be a day-by-day situation. We'll take the drawings off here, though. The upper level support drifting off to the north. That's going to dry us out for the most part as we head through. We're now into Saturday. Getting into Sunday, we're going to start to make that transition early next week now, though. Here we get into Monday, and then Tuesday. The ridge slowly begins to slide off to the west. That means northwest flow once again returns to the Corn Belt, bringing thunderstorm chances back into the region. I'll look at your highs over the next several days then. A bit of a contrast as we watch this frontal boundary sliding across the region. 60s and 70s to the north, 90s off to the south. Look at your Wednesday highs. Thursday, heat starting to expand. Friday, and then Saturday, we'll have most areas of the Corn Belt back near 90 degrees.